Hello and welcome to another episode of Doing the Fish Hunt. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to fish the Wobble Head Jig. So the Wobble Head Jig is a slightly newer technique, and it was actually made famous by Larry Biffle, who invented the Biffle head, which is a football head jig essentially, but the hook is attached to this loop of metal that allows the head to swing around. Now, since the many companies have copied that, and you have BMC, you have Strike King, you have Mustad, you have all these companies that make hooks or lures that started making these. This one I'm holding in my hand is actually an Arky football head jig. No, football U-bolt heads, as they call it. Arky makes a lot of jigs, and their components are pretty good quality, but they're pretty. The lures themselves are expensive, but pretty good quality. Now, this at the football head jig itself. I love this lure personally. I've tried it out a couple times, and it's incredible. So here's the football head jig. This is the Arky football head jig. This is sort of a dark pumpkin seed color, but you can see how this is about a 2/0 round bend worm hook, and it's connected to this U-shaped piece of metal that allows the hook to swing around. So this means you're connected to this weight. As you're hopping it and dragging it across the bottom, this worm is going crazy all over the place. It's got a unique action that's different than most jigs, and a lot of people, while it's become used more common now, not a lot of people use it. Quite a few do, but there are anglers out there that have never used it, and that some bodies of water that have never seen one. So the only thing I have to complain about the Arkys are the paint job's terrible. As you barely ding it over rocks, the paint just starts to chip off. But other than that, they're decent. The hooks are very sharp. Now, this is a very versatile bait. You can fish all kinds of stuff on it. However, let me talk about why I truly love it. Let's say this is what the underside of your lake looks like. But how are you supposed to tell that it doesn't look like that? Now, there are many ways to figure that out. You could just have a fish finder, but those are pretty expensive. Or you could pick up a pack of Wobble Head Jigs. Now, this is what I call a fish finder. Now, the reason for that is that you're connected directly to the weight. Unlike a Texas rig, where you're connected to the hook and the weight's just on the line, you're connected directly to the weight. Here's where you attach your line. You're connected to this piece of weight. Now this weight is going to drag over all the bottom obstacles. It's going to pull through grass. It's going to bounce over limbs. Everything feels slightly different. Rocks feel like a tick, 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 tick. And big rocks are like a tick pool. Not a pool. A pool is a fish. But a sort of tick and then no ticks and then tick, tick, tick. Because you're pulling it up and over the rod. And weeds are just, the rod sort of bends a little bit and it just feels mushy. And sticks are usually a bump. Sort of a bump feels like a snag. And then some more bumps and yeah. But this rig can give you the perfect a visual, a mental picture of the entire bottom of your reservoir or river. I fished with this one river that I have no clue what's on the bottom. Never snorkeled it, never fished it with that kind of stuff. And now I know there's a log pile, 2 big rocks, and weeds between those rocks, and weeds coming towards the bank for about 3 feet. Then the rest is just small gravel. Now I can tell, oh, that'd be a good place to fish a Wobble Head Jig. That'd be a good place to fish a jig in general. Be a good place to fish a crawl, a crankbait, something like that can deflect off that kind of cover. A lipless crankbait to rip it out of the tops of the grass. So, see, that's the key thing about this bait, is truly, you can fish this anywhere, because it's weedless, and you can get the most amazing bottom picture ever of your reservoir without having to spend a couple $100 on a fish finder. With 3 of these, $1.50. So yeah, I think these are a little bit less expensive. Now, let's talk about fishing these. I like to throw these out, and I like to drag them. Occasionally I'll hop it a couple times, but usually I'll drag it, and just drag it across the bottom and then stop it. And usually the bass will follow it, and then when you stop it, you'll feel it, ding, and something will just, like a thump. The bass seem to hit this pretty hard. And so, usually after you drag it and you stop, and just when you're about to start dragging it again, they'll hit it. That's what I found. So I like to fish it that way. I'll hop it a couple times if it's coming through brush, that sort of thing. If I see a bass following it, I'll shake it. Sometimes when I just stop it, I'll shake it. And when you shake this weight, the weight goes side to side like this, and this worm is all over the place. And it looks pretty good. Now, that's how I like to fish it. There is nowhere you can't fish a wobble head jig. It comes through grass. If you got a lot of grass, don't get the football head style. Get the one from Strike King that's the cobra head style. And otherwise get the football head style for like rocks, rip rap, sticks, that kind of stuff. Now, this is a straight up fish catcher. I would definitely recommend you get them. That's how I like to fish them. Now let's talk about rigging. What can you fish on a wobble head jig? The answer? Absolutely anything except a crankbait. I'm going to show you the standards, what I kind of fish with. Oh, this bait is awesome. I have fished with this on almost every rig imaginable. Wacky rigged it, Texas rigged it, Wojo rigged it, Nico rigged it, and Wobble Head Jig did it. This is the 7-inch Zoom trick worm in watermelon replay. My favorite bait by all. I have confidence in this bait. Caught me my PB 4-pounder out of a relatively small river. Yeah, that's the worm I like to use. So when you're doing this, literally you're going to Texas rig it. How that's different. Usually when you Texas rig, you come in pretty far. This time you want to nick just the barely head of the worm, just barely like that. Look at that fly. Barely hook that head. Then you're going to bring that up and just turn the hook again. Most of you guys probably know how to Texas rig, but if not, that's how you do it. Then you're just going to push that through. And skin hook it. Boom. Perfectly straight. That's what you want. And that, when you shake this and drag it, this tail is going to be flopping around, and when you stop it, it's going to float, stand up like that. So that's how I rig the Zoom trick worm on there. And this, I use the Zoom trick worm, you know, throwing around cover, around everything, rocks and stuff. It gives good action, and sticks. Weeds, it's great because it comes through there nice. However, there's another bait that I like to throw with this technique. By the way, Zoom, if you're watching this video, you need to make your trick worms more durable. They don't stand up to use. I like to fish, and you may surprise some of you, probably not. Some of you may not. There's the baby brush hog. Now all of us know, you throw this out of Texas rig, you drag it and hop it. We'll do that on this, and you've got a completely unique action. Once again, same exact thing. I want to show you with this bait what happens if you rig this far. That's what I usually do for Texas rig. Problem is, then you're gonna come up. This is a mistake a lot of people make. They do this, you know, and they're like, oh yeah. Well, there's a bit of a problem with that. Look at that. You see that? It's over this eye. This has almost no action. This is essentially a football head jig now. Don't do that. Do not put the shit up that far. What you want to do, oh, here comes the resident pig. You just want to nick it. Just barely nick it. Just like that, like an 1/8 of an inch. Maybe a little more than 1/8 of an inch. Like a 1/4 inch. And yeah. Also, a little tip for Texas rigging, you guys. You may be thinking, how is he getting that so perfectly straight? It's not because I'm excellent. Just until recently, I was rigging it all messed up and not so good. And what you want to do is when you come through, you don't want to go straight through like this. You don't want to come straight up and then out, because that makes it like that. What you want to do is take that hook, and you want to come up through, but you want to come, as you're going up through, you want to sort of come up and forward. So you want to go like this and bring the hook forward through the bait, like that. Now when you skin hook it, perfectly flat. That's a little tip text reading, you know, bonus tips. Always watch for the bonus tips. Now that's how you rig a brush hog, same exact way as the zoom trip worm, but don't overlook this bait on a wobble head jig. Now here's a bait nobody may have thought of using, and there's a bait I bet you didn't think of using. A medium-sized craw. Once again, you're turning the text through. These big bite baits, this is so firm that you can almost not get a hook through, which is great, because that means the fish can't rip it up. So we go, barely nick it. And you come through, just like this. In my opinion, this hook is probably slightly too small for fishing this craw. I'm not going to have very good bites, very good hookups, but if you have a bigger hook, hey, I could probably hook some fish with that. Take that back, take all of that back. You could totally fish this on this. And now this is a completely unique craw action, because when you hop this up, these are going to go just flopping around, and it's just going to look a lot different than everybody else's craw. That's the key in fishing, looking different. That's how you get hit. So yeah, fish the craw. And there you go, guys. That's the Wobble Head Jig. I hope that you will consider it. I hope that you will fish it some more, because I think if you do, I'm sure you have one in your box. If not, go down to Walmart, pick one up. But if you're not fishing that bait, you're crazy. It works so well, and it gives you such a mental picture of the bottom, that then even if you don't get hits on that, you know what the bottom's like. So then you can go out, throw a crankbait, and get slammed. That's what fishing's about. Finding different ways to catch fish. Figuring out where they are in that body of water and what they want. And that bait can tell you exactly what they look like, what the bottom looks like, which can really key you in on, I know the best, I'm probably going to be back here. Plus, fish will hit that a lot more than they'll hit like just a normal type of crankbait or something. So that, even if you don't hook up, you know, oh, there's bass over there. Fish the crankbait in, fish the trick worm in, wacky rig, wham. That is what you need to figure out in bass fishing. So thanks for watching. Try out the Wobble Head Jig. You won't be disappointed. Get out there, catch some more fish.